On this episode of Country Boy Gas Garage, we continue restoring the brakes on this old bus. So let's go. Hi guys, well, welcome back to another episode of Country Boy Gas Garage. My name's Jason, and this is our 1948 Ford F5 school bus we rescued from the forest. It was abandoned for over 25 years, and we were able to get it running and drove it here. So if you haven't seen those episodes, you got to go back and watch them, get caught up to where we're at. Now for everyone that has been following along and that is caught up, know that we're getting this bus back on the road to make a reunion trip back to the old church. Now we're using mostly stock and original parts to do this so we can show her off in our old glory. I'd also like to run that old Y block that's in there. That motor was stuck solid, but we freed her up and it ran pretty good. So we'll address whatever issues that motor has when we get closer to that point. Well, I'm not sure what we're going to do down the road. Eventually I'd like to switch out the motor and upgrade the suspension. Who knows what the future holds. Well, let's get back to work. On the last episode, we were in the process of restoring the brakes on this bus, but the rain stopped us short. Well, a few days ago, I was able to find some dry weather and came out here and finished putting those brake shoes on, the wheel cylinders up front, and also the master cylinder. So let me show you that video. Well guys, I got a little bit of time between rainstorms, so let's keep getting some of these brake parts on. Alright guys, now we're going to mount the master cylinder. Now I've already bench bled this one, and if you want to see how that's done, you can go back and watch the clutch repair video where we bench bled this master cylinder. So let's go ahead and get this one mounted up today. Now I did notice this new remanufactured master cylinder is got a tab broken off. One of the ears are broken off right there. I should be able to still get it mounted up, no problem though. So let's do that. Here we go. All right, we got the new wheel cylinders there and the new shoes on. These front drums are pretty dang rusty though, so we're going to bring these inside, get them all cleaned up. We got new grease seals to put in there, and we'll get those bearings repacked. So let's do that. Okay guys, here we are with those brake drums, and they are in rough shape. They were completely rusted up. Now I'm going to clean these up a bit, but I'm pretty sure I need to take these to a machine shop and have them turned, resurfaced. Working on cleaning these old drums up. And I pulled the wheel bearings out, knocked the old seals out. I'll use a little brake cleaner and some Scotch-Brite and a wire wheel to try to get this a little cleaned up. Alright, well I've been working on these drums for a while now. I used a little wire wheel on my drill and got them fairly cleaned up. Now these front ones were really bad. They were super rusty, and there's still some pitting left. So ultimately we're going to have to take them to a machine shop and have them resurfaced on a lathe. But to be able to bleed the brakes, I need these drums on the bus. Otherwise we'll blow out a wheel cylinder. So I think they're good enough to mount up, so let's get these on the bus. Well, I got those rear drums mounted on there. Now these front drums are going to need new seals put in and the bearings repacked with new grease. So let's do that. Alright, we got the drums all mounted up. We got new grease in there with new seals, and the bearings are all packed. Now we just got to start plumbing all that hard line. Alright, I got started up front here with these new rubber lines. I mounted them up with new hardware and clips. Now I did have to reuse these old adapters here to mount the new brake line into the new wheel cylinder. And on the rear, I have to reuse these little banjo style fittings as well. Now the rear rubber line goes as this three-way splitter and adapter, which was completely rusted up. There was no way I can get this apart. So I had to make do with an aftermarket three-way splitter on that rubber line. That should work. Well, this is what we're going to be using. We got the nickel copper line that's pretty bendable, but I got a bender in case we need it. A little cutting tool for that. Some pipe thread tape if we need it. And a flaring tool. So let's get started. Okay guys, well I was just going to show you an example of what I'm doing here. I'll be cutting the brake line to length and then double flaring the ends. So for the first piece of brake line, it only needs to be about 26 inches long. So let's go ahead and cut a 26-inch long piece. I use my little pipe cutting tool here. Once you get your piece cut, you're going to want to chamfer the outside edge with a file, auger off the inside of it, and file it flat at the tip too. Once you get your tip all cleaned up, you're ready for the next step. Alright, now you want to get your brake line in your tool here and raise it up about the same height as the shoulder on this little anvil. So yeah, it's about right. And then we'll go ahead and lock it into place. And then you want to mount the flaring part of this tool and wrench it down. You crank it down until the anvil is fully seated, and then you back it out. And then sometimes it's kind of hard to get those out of there. You use a pair of pliers. And you take that anvil out and reinstall the flaring tool. Get it all seated up square and even. And crank her down again. Until it's fully seated. And then we're going to check it for symmetry and make sure it's all even. Looks good. Now the copper does score up a lot easier than the stainless steel Hopefully I'm not messing it up there. Alright, there it is with the new fitting. Now I'll just do the other end. Alright, there's the other side. It's not as clean looking flare as the other side, but it should work. So there's that first brake line we made. Now it's just the short one. We got a lot more sections to go. So I'm going to go ahead and continue making those. Then we'll get under the bus and get them all mounted up. But I'd like to take a few moments to take a sponsor break. Hey guys, well, winter's setting in. It's getting a lot darker lately. Got me thinking about lighting. I was talking to Roger over at Hyperlite, and he sent me these outdoor LED wall pack lights, the Moon series. These are intended for outdoor brightly lit areas. Let's open it up and take a look. Instruction manual, hardware, wiring caps, well, they're very durable. The housing's made of a die-cast aluminum material and then a thermoset powder coating for weather and corrosion resistance. Now these housings open up so you can access the wiring connections and the mounting options. So let's open it up and I'll show you. Now it comes with a little Allen wrench that's needed for this. Well, this door just swings open, gives you access to the wiring connections and your mounting options. And we get to take the door right off here. Well, I'm going to take this outside and get it mounted. Now, I've mounted mine on the exterior of my shop here and around the perimeter of the building. If you have any questions about your mounting situation, contact a local contractor or electrician. Now these lights are equipped with a photocell on top that automatically turns them on and off at dusk or dawn. You could bypass that system altogether if you like, or you could adjust the sensitivity with these little frosted caps. Well, let me show you what they look like. Alright, I got one mounted on each end of the building like this, and a couple down the side here. Of course, we're going to have to wait till nighttime to get the full effect, but there they are. So we'll check back later this evening and turn them on for you. Alright guys, this is what it's normally like out here at night. Let's see what it looks like with the new Hyperlite LED wall packs installed. Alright guys, these lights are amazingly bright. Now if you're interested in them, I'll put a link to the product in the description below, as well as any discounts or promo codes. welcome back to the video. It's the next morning, and I was able to get most of those brake line sections completed last night. I got all of them installed except for the last one. So let's climb under there and I'll show you what I got done and what we got left to do. Okay, back here under the bus, and this is where all the connections are. This is where that hydro booster was mounted. I do plan on putting that back in here once I get it all rebuilt, but for now we're installing it without it. I did make all my connections here, so it wouldn't be too hard to plumb it back in right in this spot when we're ready. And I'll kind of explain what we got going on here. So we got our main line that's coming down from our master cylinder. This one comes in to a T right here. Now that T breaks off into two sections, front and rear. Now the front line comes up here to another T, which splits off to the left and the right. And then the rear line just shoots all the way back to the back to where we're at now. So let me show you what we're doing there. So the rear line comes back here and connects to this rubber line, which shoots down to this last T fitting, which then shoots over to the right side and the left side. Now the right side I've got bent up around this axle housing over to that side. And we got the last one to install over here. Let me show you what we got. So this is that short section we built together last night. Now I've got it all bent up, ready to install. Now this nickel copper line is super easy to bend and highly corrosive and rust resistant. I definitely recommend using this stuff. So let's get this last piece in. Alright, there's the last brake line connection. Now I just have to go around and tighten all my fittings and get ready to bleed the air out of the system. Okay, we got the brake line connected to the master cylinder here, and I topped it off with brake fluid. Now the brake lines are all full of air, and we're going to have to get that air out of the system. So I'm going to go to the very back brake and crack open the bleeder valve and hopefully bleed out some of that air. Now I do have a cheap Harbor Freight vacuum pump that I could connect to that bleeder valve and try to pull some of this brake fluid through the lines. So let's make that happen. Alright, here we are in the back brakes, and this is that bleeder valve. So I'm going to loosen this, which should allow that brake fluid to move through the lines and come out here. And I can attach the vacuum pump here and start pulling that brake fluid through as well. Alright guys, that little handheld pump did not work. So this is how we're doing it. We're running a tube from the bleeder valve and into a container of brake fluid. And as we pump the brakes, it'll push the brake fluid out the bleeder valve and into the container, but it won't be able to suck any air back into the system. Let me show you. Now, I don't know if you could see that, but it's working. Now I just have to go to each brake and do the same thing. Starting with the brake that's farthest from the master cylinder, which would be the rear passenger, and then I'll work my way closer. Alright guys, it worked. We got brakes. The pedal feels good. Now of course, as we get closer to driving this bus, I'll go around and double check everything and get it all adjusted and make sure it's working good. Alright, let's get cleaned up. Alright guys, man, it feels good to be done with that. We're checking things off the list and making some progress. We got all new brakes on this bus. New shoes, new wheel cylinders, new brake lines, new master cylinder. And we'll get those drums brought to the machine shop and have them resurfaced. As soon as I get the rebuild parts for that hydro booster, we'll get that rebuilt and get that installed. Some of the other things we still have to do is address the fuel system. You know, check the gas tank and replace all the fuel lines, maybe replace the fuel pump. We also have to address the cooling system, check the radiator, and rebuild that water pump or replace it. And then of course we got to replace all the electrical in this bus, from front to back. So those are all upcoming videos that we're going to be doing really soon in the near future. Well, which leads me to the fact that I don't get my videos uploaded nearly as often as you guys would like. And I wish I had more time to be able to get these videos out every week, but as of right now, with all the work and family, I get a video out every few weeks. Hopefully down the road that'll change and I'll be able to get videos out every week for you guys. But for now, bear with me. And I also want to thank all the new subscribers. We're up to 18,000 subscribers, guys. We're getting closer and closer to that 50,000 subscriber mark that I'm reaching for. So thank you to all my subscribers. Now I want to ask everybody to please help support the channel and go over to www.countryboygasgarage.com and pick yourself up some merch. Now we're having a holiday sale from now to New Year's Eve, and if you enter the promo code CBGGSALE, you'll save 10% off all your merchandise. So please stay tuned for that next video.